Hey friends, thank you for joining me for today's video. This is part two of a two-part video mini-series focused on both niche and designer houses, the most popular ones here on YouTube and maybe also on Instagram. And the focus of the videos is if you are newer to fragrances or new to the houses, what would be the fragrance that I personally, based on my own taste, would tell you to try first from the house? The one that I think would have maybe the most mass appeal and be the most feminine leaning for all of you to try out. So if you watched part one, you know that it is snowing outside. We've got a little bit of a winter wonderland developing here in Central Virginia. It is our first snow of the season. The flakes that are falling are the big, beautiful, dreamy snowflakes. So it's kind of cool to be filming this as the snow is falling. So very quickly, as I mentioned in the first video, niche only means that the house produces nothing but fragrances. That's their thing. That's all it means. People ascribe other meanings to the word niche and that it means superior quality, it's better, it's more worth having, all of these crazy things that people think. I completely disagree. And designer then means that it's a house that has other lines of things. And that's typically clothing and sometimes makeup and other beauty products and maybe a whole beauty empire that has a fragrance line attached to it. So that's all that means. Designers in general tend to be more mass appealing in terms of the fragrance profiles that they produce. They're more popular selling and often, but here it's changing lately, are somewhat more affordable on the whole than their niche counterparts. There's always exceptions to every rule. And in general, all fragrance prices are going up across the spectrum. With all of that behind us, there are some real amazing beauties to explore in the designer world. When I tell you that the designers have it in terms of being mass appealing and producing some super sexy, elegant fragrances, friends, this might be where you want to start. So we're going to go with the house of Lancome first. And their most popular fragrance by far has been La Vie Est Belle. I don't own La Vie Est Belle, but I think it's beautiful. A lot of folks are kind of sick of that fragrance profile. That happens when a fragrance becomes super popular and people smell it everywhere. They just kind of get over it. And then it gets accused of being trashy and boring and basic and all of the other things. Lord have mercy, the pressure that we put on fragrance scents is a little crazy. But I'm not going to tell you about La Vie Est Belle, but I am going to tell you about a flanker called La Vie Est Belle Intensament. I have this cutie pie little bottle that doesn't look like it's been used a lot. I've worn this maybe 3-4-ish times and have sprayed lightly because for me, this is a fairly long-lasting fragrance and it is so sweet, beautifully sweet. But if you spray too much, you might overwhelm folks. So this is one that's best sprayed 2 or 3 times, maybe sort of a little bit in your lower torso area to let it waft up and have people enjoy it. It's characterized by a heliotrope note that can come across a little bit almondy, and it has a beautiful, soft, cool iris, lovely, sweet vanilla and raspberry. Those are the key players. This is a very highly feminine fragrance. Some people don't think that this smells like the original La Vie Est Belle. I think there's a little bit of the DNA with the iris amped up here and this sort of like bready quality. Bready, like if you smelled yeast rising, not yeast, yeasty bread, yeasty bread rising, like dough rising, the kind of soft, delicate, bready, almost almondy smell that can come off of, or nutty smell that can come off of breads as they're rising. There's a little touch of that here in the fragrance. I think this is just magnificent in its femininity. The way that the little scarf on it looks is kind of an indication of how this smells with the raspberry. The raspberry's toned down. I wouldn't call this a highly fruity fragrance. I would say that the raspberry lends some sweetness to this. Very feminine, very sort of matronly in the way that a good hug from a good auntie or a good older woman in your family might smell. She might smell sweet and a little bit slightly cloying if you get too much of this. What keeps this from being cloying for me is that it has a heavy dose of iris. So that note kind of like cools the fragrance down and keeps it from being too warm and overpowering. So lovely, elegant fragrance, very sweet, lovely for date night. And look how pretty these bottles are. I don't care what you think about La Vie Est Belle, the fragrance. I think the bottles are so lovely. Let's move on. Next is the house of Yves Saint Laurent, YSL. And you probably think I'm going to talk about one of the Black Opium fragrances. Definitely get your nose on Black Opium, the original. Definitely get your nose on the Le Parfum version, which is a deep, absolutely sexy vanilla fragrance. But the fragrance that I'm going to choose as one that I think is a nice entry into the house and is easygoing, lovable, mass appeal, is actually another intense fragrance, and this is Mon Paris Intensiment. I love that this is fruity and floral and sweet and light and flirty and bright. Look at this cutie pie little bottle here with the bow on it. It does come in a bigger size as well. This is so pretty and young. There's a young, sweet, tender femininity about this fragrance that's just fun. Rose and peony and fruits. There's dark berry fruits in here and vanilla. So pretty, so light. So the vanilla is not heavy in here like it can be in some other fragrances. This is a much more mature fragrance, mature feminine fragrance, whereas this one is light and playful and youthful. I could see a mother-daughter duo really enjoying this and fighting over wearing it themselves. It can be a little bit light wearing in that the longevity is pretty moderate on this. Some find it a little bit fleeting on them, and the projection can be a little bit light after it settles down. But my goodness, what a cute fragrance, and it makes a great gift because it presents so well. Adorable. Next we go to Givenchy, and I've gotten in my hands the queen of the house, and it's not the one that you think that I love the most, Amoureige. That's a really challenging fragrance, I think, for a beginner. And in fact, a lot of the Givenchy fragrances are really full-bodied and kind of mature. And so for me, this is the easiest one and the most maybe iconic of the lineup. If you ask me, maybe you have a different opinion. And that's the L'Interdit line. There's a number of them and different flankers. There's an EDP, an EDT, all of that. I happen to have the L'Interdit Couture version, which has this lace on it. And this is actually sitting out on Mercari. My Mercari, which is linked below, not because I don't think this is a gorgeous fragrance, but because I just don't reach for it a lot, and I have a lot of beautiful tuberose fragrances, and that's what this is more than anything. It's tuberose. It has a little bit of sweetness from some fruit notes, but the tuberose is the dominant player, accompanied by a very low-key patchouli that kind of grounds the fragrance. This is a known scent profile that a lot of folks are really comfortable with and enjoy and think is really classy. It's one of the more enjoyable tuberoses out on the market in the sense that it's an easy to like tuberose. You know, it's a very sort of soft, non-imposing, easy tuberose to wear. Now, I do have the intense version, which comes in the black bottle, and that has this really interesting sesame note in it. That's sitting out on Mercari too by the time I post this video. Both are really delightful. I've had my time with them, and I'm enjoying other florals and tuberose fragrances in my collection a little bit more right now, so I'm passing these along to new homes. However, this is the one that I would say to get your nose on if you're interested in exploring the house of Givenchy. This is like classic, iconic, tuberose, easygoing, easy to wear, yet elegant, defining fragrance for the lineup from Givenchy. Really delightful. Then we go to Guerlain, which has one of the most extensive and interesting libraries of fragrances in the designer realm. So many beauties to explore, including a lot of newer or reformulated releases in the, what is it called? The Art and Materials or L'Art and Materials line. I forget how to say it, but the special sort of private line. You know what I mean? The more expensive ones, the ones that you can customize and cost a lot of money. And there's some from there that probably deserve to be in this lineup. But again, thinking about a fragrance that is pretty mass appealing, that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy and would be a good entry into the house if you wanted something from Guerlain, but you were not sure what to get. I wanted to go with Mon Guerlain, the original, and actually the EDT, the Eau de Toilette version of that. It's one of my favorites, and I think it's quite beautiful. But I think this one is more mass appealing for beginners or people just exploring the house. And that is actually Mon Guerlain Intense, the Eau de Parfum Intense. You know that it is that because it has this sort of rose gold collar on it. So look for that if you're not sure what you're looking at online. Surely it should say Eau de Parfum Intense, but just in case it doesn't, the band tells you which one you are looking at. This is a gorgeous date night fragrance. This is just so elegant and pretty and deep. It is a really thick fragrance, one of those that could potentially be cloying. And if you're not familiar with the term cloying, it really just means that a fragrance can be so strong that it would overpower the senses to the point where people get a little bit nauseous. You know what I mean? Those really strong, maybe sometimes floral or syrupy floral fragrances that just overwhelm the senses. There are other fragrance types that can be cloying too, but we tend to associate that with really heavy, thick, sweet, overpowering, like suffocating florals. So here you have beautiful vanilla, and you still have some lavender that you have in the original Mon Guerlain, but it is dialed back in comparison to the heavy dose of lavender, which almost comes across as like rich and creamy and decadent in the fragrance. There's a gorgeous sweet tonka bean that accompanies the heavy dose of vanilla here as it continues to dry down. A little tiny bit of muskiness that develops, and this gorgeous bed of sandalwood. But more than anything, a beautiful vanilla fragrance with hints of lavender and a lot of sort of oomph in the background. Great for date night, beautiful church fragrance, any kind of occasion where you want to show up as a more mature, put together, self-confident person. This is gorgeous. Next, we go to Valentino. I love me some Valentino makeup. Give me a lipstick, give me a powder or a foundation from their beauty lineup, and I am a happy girl. I don't like the handbags as much. Are you a Valentino handbag gal or guy? The hardware on there, I think, is just a little bit much, but this isn't a handbag video. Let's stick to the fragrance, Veronica. The lineup is characterized by the studded bottles, I think, for the most part. I know they had a line that had the florals on the front, like a metal flower on the front. That had some real beauties in it, too. But the fragrance, friends, that I'm going to choose, the darling of the Valentino lineup. Love it or hate it. For many people coming new into the fragrance world, this is a love for them. And with good reason, because I think she is all that in a bag of chips. It is the gorgeous Donna Born in Roma. I do have the big bottle of this, and I've gone through a travel spray and a number of decants of this. This is so pretty. Lots of different types of soft, sensual, girly, very feminine jasmine in the fragrance, vanilla on top of vanilla, and a little bit of woodiness. This is an easy reach, pretty girl fragrance. Period. End of story. I like the intense version, particularly when you want to feel sexier. That one has an ombre effect on the bottle that's really quite cool. But this fragrance, I think, is the most mass appealing, easy wear, easy reach fragrance of the bunch. For people that don't like jasmine, I mean, you're not going to like any fragrance that has jasmine in it. So if jasmine doesn't bother you, or if you appreciate it, I do happen to enjoy jasmine myself, especially when it is not indolic, meaning that it smells a little bit like a rotting flower. When it doesn't have that, you just have the essence of pure, fresh jasmine. Here you go. Here you go. With the beautiful, comforting sweetness, enveloping nature of vanilla and that little bit of woodiness. And I think there's a little bit of musk in here too in the dry down. It's hard to beat this as a mass appealing fragrance, friends. Period. End of story. Say what you want about it. Donna Born in Roma is that one. Next, we go to the House of Christian Dior, which has beautiful everything. I think Dior is typically associated with some of the classiest lines of everything out there, including their makeup, including their handbags and their fragrances. Their special line of fragrances has a tremendous lineup to explore. But I'm going to go with something that is kind of classic. It's not the old school classic, but maybe like a modern version, and that is the good old Pure Poison. This is one of the prettiest bottles in the entire Dior lineup, and certainly out of the Poison collection. I had the original Poison, and I still do. It's sitting up in my closet. I wore the heck out of that when it came out. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't grown and cute in my teenage years wearing me some Poison, the original Poison. Forget what the notes tell you this should smell like, friends. This is a clean, floral, soapy fragrance sitting on sandalwood. There's some nice white florals in here, including jasmine and gardenia. There's some nice citrus. And I don't know where the soapiness is coming from because I don't see it in the note structure, but I get a beautiful, fresh soapiness from this that makes this so elegant for all year round, and especially in warmer weather when you get to the end of spring and into early summer. Maybe in the depth of summer, this might get a tiny bit too much if you spray too much, but this is so pretty. And friends, if you are sick of your heavy, cloying, overpowering winter fragrances that are heavy on the amber and the spices and the woods and the patchoulis and all of that, try Pure Poison on a cold day and let me know what you think. I think it works really well under your trench coat as you step out with your heels and your briefcase and you head to work. You're going to smell beautiful and put together with Pure Poison. Classic scent. Hard to go wrong with this. Really good. We come to Armani next, and the Armani Privé line has some beautiful ones in the lineup. You got your Rouge Malachite, Vert Malachite, all of that going on, in addition to a number of other really interesting, unique fragrances there. And what I wanted to put on the more sort of traditional designer side of all of this, I think is really hard to find. And if you've watched my channel, you know I ordered this from Sephora while it was available and then it broke. And that's Armani code. It slipped out of my hands in my bathroom and crashed onto the tile. Man, my bathroom smelled amazing, amazing for a couple days as the smell was going away, but that broke. So I can't advise that one because it's really hard to get a hold of. I mean, it's still available out there, but another equally beautiful fragrance. I mean, look, nothing is going to top the original Armani code that everyone went crazy over when it first came out. But this one is pretty good too, and its flankers are pretty interesting, and that is C. So there are some gorgeous flankers, C Fiori in the pink bottle, which I believe is officially discontinued. If you can get a hold of that, that is gorgeous too. C Intense is my favorite of the flankers, but it can be a little bit overpowering in terms of the sweetness. And then there is the Passion. Is that what it's called? In the red bottle, there's several of those as well, but I like just the regular Passion because it smells like this plus shampoo. And what does this smell like? This smells like fruitiness. This smells like a little bit of florals. This smells like woodiness to me. I find this to be super sexy, but in an everyday type of way. I wouldn't go so far as to think of this as a date night fragrance, although I wore it for date night this past Friday with hubby, and he really liked it. One of the characteristic notes of the fragrance is a deep black currant, which is a dark berry type of scent. If you think about what the sweetness from over-ripened dark berries smells like, that's a little bit of what's happening in here, along with this super duper sweet, thick vanilla sitting on a bed of woodiness. I think there's supposed to be some rose in the fragrance as well. I can't say that rose jumps out to me, although I can imagine how it's sitting there alongside the other notes as well. More than anything, it is fruity and vanillic and deep from the woodiness. I remember smelling this on some of my friends and always like being captivated by how they smelled. What are you wearing? Why, I'm wearing C. And I would go, oh, because I didn't own it at the time. It was years later that I came to purchase a bottle of this. Going nowhere. I don't especially love the caps on these bottles. Looks goofy to me. What do you think? But I do like the regular sort of classy lines of the actual bottle itself. It's substantial. It's got the nice thick base on it. Really feels good in the hand. But what's happening? What is that? What? Yeah, okay, let's move on. You know what house I forgot in this lineup? Probably several, but Burberry, and I'm going to say Burberry Goddess, is winning in the Burberry department. It's vanilla and it's lavender at the beginning, but mostly this beautiful, real easy to wear, likable vanilla fragrance that lasts moderately. I didn't put it in the lineup. I don't know why, but let's go on with the ones that I had intended. And so we're going next to Mugler. And yes, so it's called Mugler now instead of Thierry Mugler, and it's under the Estee Lauder umbrella. They were bought out by Estee Lauder. So, and people have complained about the reformulations of some of the classic fragrances since that has happened, and I'm not here to debate that. And I think I don't even care about that. I know I just enjoy the fragrances that I enjoy. And I bet you think I'm going to say Alien, but I'm not, because Alien, I think, is a particularly polarizing fragrance. You love it or you hate it. I think this fragrance that I'm going to mention does have some mass appeal and is maybe like the current day, one of the current day favorites from the bunch, and that's Alien Goddess Intense. This is widely spoken about here on YouTube because it is a warm, inviting version of the original Alien. If you couldn't get down with some of the aspects of that, there was something about it that bothered you, or you found it scratchy, or whatever all of the other accusations are that are hurled at my beautiful Alien, the eau de parfum, not the eau de toilette. Imagine all of those annoying aspects being gone and you're left with what you thought that fragrance was going to smell like. Maybe you end up with something like this. Now, although you can't find the note of coconut sort of listed everywhere for this, I do pick up something coconutty and creamy in the fragrance, along with a really soft, sensual, and prominent jasmine. And it's like a young, fresh jasmine, not the, like I said, indolic jasmine that we were talking about before, when it smells like it's decaying and doesn't smell good. It has a warm sort of amber wraparound. There's supposed to be some citrusy aspects in the fragrance. I can't say that I get a whole lot of that. For me, it is like jasmine and a beautiful, delicious vanilla, some sort of coconut creaminess and amber. And it's a very sensual, sexy fragrance. Wear it in summer or wear it in winter, it's going to do well both times. I think it has enough presence, enough depth, enough oomph to it to really take you through all the seasons, and is just a beautiful, beautiful version, beautiful flanker of the original Alien without having too much of that DNA that Alien haters would hate this too. Maybe you disagree. Of course, there's going to be some people that in the comments say it smells too much like Alien for them, and that's okay. But I think by and large, a lot of people would say that this is deviating enough from the original Alien to be tolerable and actually really enjoyable in a sexy and alluring way. Next is Carolina Herrera. I have tried a bunch from the house. I have a lot from the Confidentials line, which is why this is up at the more complex end of the designer house lineup, because the Confidentials line from Carolina Herrera is a really pretty powerful line of fragrances with some unique exotic scent profiles that can be tough for a lot of people to really enjoy. And because poor Carolina Herrera gets put down because of the Good Girl lineup, which I think is a mistake. I own the regular like OG Good Girl, and I think it was groundbreaking when it first came out, and I still think it's a really relevant and warm and sexy fragrance in a unique way. That is not the fragrance that I chose for this. I chose Good Girl Blush as the intro fragrance to this house because it is, for me, the most likable of the entire Carolina Herrera lineup. By the way, did anybody wear the original Carolina Herrera tuberose fragrance? You know what I'm talking about? There was an EDT version and an EDP, and that EDP would knock you out with the heaviest, most cloying dose of tuberose, and I wore that for a long time, a long time. Whew, this one is very light and bright and fun and easy to wear. Everyday pretty girl fragrance. I love the color of this nudie pink heel. Fantastic. There's citrus at the top of this. It's a mandarin note that comes across bright and zesty and fun. The heart of this has peony and I believe rose as well. Peony is one of my favorite floral smells. The actual peony flower is a pale, really soft, sweet scent, but peony in perfumery shows up a little bit stronger, very feminine, very pink smelling flower. We grow peonies in our garden and love to pick them in the spring. Really beautiful, beautiful floral to look at and to smell the note version in perfumery. And all of that is sitting on a bed of really easygoing vanilla. So this is for all ages. I think of this as a fragrance that young ladies can wear that might be intimidated perhaps by something like L'Interdit and its flankers, or from, La Vie Belle and some of the overpowering scents in that lineup and others. But this is easy breezy and crowd pleasing. It smells great in the air. Don't be talking about the Good Girl fragrances, y'all. And then perhaps the most polarizing designer house, I think. People either get with this house, like me, or they are repulsed by the house, the scents, and the price point. Because I have to say, the price points on these fragrances is nearly criminal. So, but I like the house, and so I deal with it and find ways around that, including, friends, shopping on discount sites. Like these are often on Joma Shop on discount. I have a link below that you can shop to find a lot of these fragrances at a discounted rate. So go to the description box, find the Joma Shop link, and go in through my homepage and shop to your heart's content, including, I don't know if this is sitting out on there. I got this one. How did I get you? Did I get you from Sephora, or did somebody gift it to me, one of my family members? I don't remember. But this is Soleil Neige. I think this is one of the easiest to wear, one of the most lovable, mass appealing fragrances from the entire Tom Ford lineup. And I happen to think it's a hidden gem because not a lot of people either know about this or talk about it or have tried it. Because Tom Ford is one of those houses that some of the more polarizing scents like Lost Cherry and Black Opium and Tobacco Vanille and all of those, they get so much attention from the house that we forget that there are some subtle beauties like this. This is citrus, some light bright florals, and vanilla. So easygoing. Soleil Neige means sun on snow. And so it evokes the idea of the freshness of what the air smells like on a snowy day, something like that. I do think that there is a coolness to the fragrance from the citrus and the florals, the way that they sit in here. The vanilla does give it some warmth and easygoingness. And this is very mass appealing. This has made its way into my permanent travel rotation. So I have a travel spray of this on rotation that's constantly in my travel items that I pack up for work travel, because I've gotten compliments on this when I've worn it around colleagues. It's easygoing and it's not cloying, but it has presence, and you can smell it the sillage down the hallway, especially for the first maybe couple of hours when you wear this. I can't tell you how much I adore this. I love having a bottle of it, and I'm glad that I have it as a travel spray, and I won't be without this one. This is the easiest one and one of the most like classically beautiful ones in the Tom Ford lineup if you're interested in exploring the house. So friends, I know I left out a bunch of designers, but the video can only be so long, and I wanted to stick to 10 and one from the 10. So how do you think I did here? And are there other beginner easy fragrances that you think could be the entree, the segue into the house for people if they're wanting to explore these houses? Leave your thoughts down in the comments so that our fragrance friends here can check it out and make some decisions about what they want to go try to sample, or sometimes blind buy. They want to take a chance and be a little bit daring and creative. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you are having a fabulous year so far, and I will see you in the next episode, friends. Take care.